The last credit card receipt is still warm from the printer when Mara realizes $1,846 has vanished. She stands beneath the copper heat lamps with the receipts fanned across the stainless steel pass. Beyond the kitchen doors, members of the Halcyon Botanical Society are collecting coats and congratulating one another on the orchids. Inside, 23 exhausted employees are waiting to hear what they earned. Mara checks the total a third time. Celeste. Her cousin looks up from a glass of champagne she has carried in from the conservatory. The tips are short. Payroll will reconcile it. The guests left $4,600 and change. The pool shows $28. Celeste glances toward the servers stripping linens 10 feet away. Keep your voice down. I need the pool report. Celeste sets down the glass. Complain again and you'll get no shifts. By Monday morning, the new schedule is pinned beneath Bellwether's brass order wheel. Mara finds her name at the bottom. Tuesday lunch, 11 to 3. Thursday setup, 2 to 6. 8 hours. She reads it twice, as if 16 more might appear if she lets the ink dry. Behind her, the kitchen wakes in layers. Hood fans, ice machine, the sharp snap of Inez Park breaking open a sleeve of bar towels. The wheel above the schedule is older than Bellwether. Tarnished brass clips circle a wooden hub, each one meant to hold a banquet check in service order. Mara has spun that wheel at the start of nearly every event for 3 years. Today it gives a dry little squeak over her head. You closing? Inez asks. Mara moves aside. Inez reads the page, then looks at Mara instead of looking again. She has silver hoops in both ears and the expression of someone who has just bitten down on a seed. 8? Apparently, Tuesday lunch is where my talents are most needed. Tuesday lunch is 6 retired florists and that man who sends back soup because it's too wet. He has standards. Inez folds her arms. What happened after I left Friday? Mara can still feel the damp receipts stuck to her palm. She had counted them at the service station, then at the pass, then in Celeste's office, while Celeste stood behind the desk tapping one fingernail against the champagne flute. We were short $1,846, Mara says. I know what we were short. What did she say? Devon Shaw comes through the swinging door carrying a paper cup and a ring of keys he did not have on Friday. He is wearing a pressed white shirt instead of his usual black server jacket. Morning, he says. Inez's eyes land on the keys. Devon lifts them slightly. Celeste asked me to take banquet captain for a few weeks. A few weeks, Mara repeats, until things settle down. He is trying to sound apologetic, but the keys jingle in his hand. Devon has wanted them. Mara knows because he once spent an entire inventory shift reorganizing the liquor cage by country of origin, then found reasons to open it in front of people. He lowers his voice. She said you needed fewer high-pressure services. Did she? After Friday, she said there was an incident. Inez gives him a flat look. The incident was subtraction. I don't know anything about that. Then you're perfect for management. Inez. What? He got promoted on a weekend. Devon's face reddens around the collar. I didn't make the schedule. Mara touches Inez's elbow before the exchange becomes something Celeste can use. She has made that mistake before, letting the wrong person provoke the right anger in public. Where is Celeste? She asks. Upstairs with the refrigeration guy. The walk-in again? Evaporator coil. He says it might be $12,000. There it is. Not an excuse exactly, but a piece of the truth. At Bellwether, emergencies travel faster than money. A dead compressor becomes a delayed linen payment. A cracked conservatory pane becomes 3 vendors waiting an extra week. Celeste can turn panic into momentum better than anyone Mara has ever worked for. She can also make the person asking to be paid feel vulgar for mentioning it. Mara pulls her phone from her apron pocket and photographs the schedule. Devon watches her. Why are you doing that? Because it's my schedule. You can check it in the app. It changed twice last month. That was a sync issue. Then this will help us remember what the issue looked like. He takes a careful sip from his cup. Celeste said you might be combative. Mara looks at him. Devon's mouth tightens. That came out wrong. No, I think it came out the way she put it in. Upstairs, the old greenhouse office is warm enough to soften butter. Bellwether occupies what used to be the propagation house of a private estate, and the office still has bubbled glass windows and iron frames painted moss green. Celeste stands at the desk with a contractor's estimate in one hand and her reading glasses pushed onto her head. She is in navy trousers, cream silk, and the red-soled shoes she wears when she expects a lender or a bride's mother. At 47, she has the unnerving polish of a woman who can make a fire inspection sound like an invitation-only event. You saw the schedule, she says. I did. I was going to call you. When? Celeste puts down the estimate. After I dealt with this, you cut me from 38 hours to 8. You need a reset. I need an explanation. You challenged me in front of the staff after a difficult service. I told you the tip pool was missing money. You announced a discrepancy before payroll had closed. I spoke to you, under the heat lamps with half the closing team listening. They were listening because it was their money. Celeste removes her glasses and rubs the bridge of her nose. The gesture makes her look tired in a way she rarely permits. Mara, I had Naomi Price in the building. 2 trustees who hate each other at the same table, a refrigeration alarm going off every 20 minutes, and a potential investor upstairs. I could not have you creating panic over a preliminary number. The register was closed. The software migration changed the way service adjustments display. Then show me the final pool report. Celeste picks up the estimate again, though she does not look at it. We pay through payroll now. There are withholding calculations. On tips? On wages and tips together. The tip total doesn't change because taxes come out later. Do you want me to explain payroll taxation to you? I want you to explain $1,846. The contractor moves somewhere in the hallway outside, metal striking metal. Celeste waits until the sound passes. I gave you this job when the Harrington let you walk out carrying a cardboard box, she says. Mara had known it was coming. That does not make hearing it less precise. The Harrington didn't let me walk out, she says. They made sure the lobby could see. And I made sure you had some place to come the next morning. Yes. You were in no condition to supervise anyone. I know. I protected you. I know that too. Then give me the courtesy of trusting me for 48 hours. It's been 60. For a second, Celeste's face loses its careful shape, anger then calculation. The schedule stands, she says. Show me you can work without undermining management and we'll revisit it. You threatened my shifts Friday night. I told you there would be consequences if you continued disrupting service. Service was over. Then stop calling it a threat. Celeste lifts the contractor's estimate, ending the conversation by returning to a crisis she is willing to document. Mara pauses at the door. On the corner of the desk sits Friday's blue pool card. Her handwriting lists every worker, their hours, their roll weights, and the gratuity total from the receipts. A second number has been written across the bottom in black ink. Mara turns back. Why does that card say 2,800? Celeste places the estimate over it. Payroll correction. What correction? Go home, Mara. The humiliation is quieter on the way downstairs. That is almost worse. She passes the prep kitchen, where Luis Ortega is portioning braised short ribs into hotel pans. He has worked at Bellwether longer than Mara and distrusts any utensil that contains a rechargeable battery. His gray mustache twitches when he sees her coat over her arm. You sick? Underemployed. He nods toward the schedule without asking. News at Bellwether moves through walls. My deposit was light, he says. Mara stops. Luis keeps weighing meat. 8 ounces lands in each pan with the soft accuracy of masonry. Friday. How light? $62. Did you keep the payout notice? He gives her an offended glance. I keep everything. Mara nearly smiles. Luis still prints directions before driving anywhere. Can you send it to me? His hand pauses over the scale. For what? I'm trying to understand the pool. Celeste said the new system takes taxes first. Did she tell you that today? Saturday, she called. Repeated explanations are different from explanations offered once. Mara learned that at the Harrington, though too late to save herself. A true number usually survives silence. A false one needs tending. Send me the notice, she says. If you're comfortable. Luis places another portion in a pan. If I was comfortable, I would not keep everything. At home, Mara lays her bills across the narrow dining table in the order they will hurt her: rent, utilities, insurance, the renewal notice from the parking garage. She opens the scheduling app and watches her projected monthly income drop by more than 2/3. Her father's watch rests in the ceramic bowl beside her keys. Stainless steel, blue face, too large for her wrist. He had worn it to work for 31 years and set it 5 minutes fast because he believed lateness was a form of theft. Since his death, Mara wears it on major event nights, with one extra hole punched into the leather strap. Friday's gala began at 6. The watch says 6:05 in 3 photographs on her phone. She scrolls through them. Mara photographs every completed pool card before payroll takes it. An old habit from hotel banquets, where red wine and managerial revision could each destroy a clean piece of paper. Most of the images are purely practical. If a server asks why her share is smaller, Mara can show the hours and roll weights without dragging everyone into the office. Friday's card is clear. Gross gratuities, $4,673.50. Eligible hours, 136.75. Cash distributed at close, $312. Card tip balance to payroll, $4,361.50. 23 names run down the left side. Celeste's is not one of them. Mara opens the payout notification that arrived Saturday afternoon. Her own share should have been $278.42. The deposit statement lists $164.17 before withholding. A message from Luis appears with 2 screenshots. His announced share and his deposit are short by different percentages. Mara creates a folder and names it Bellwether Reconciliation. Then she sits with her fingers resting on the phone, embarrassed by how dramatic the name looks. Her screen lights again. This time, it is her Aunt Rosa. Celeste tells me you're having trouble at work. Sunday dinner at 6. We'll talk calmly. Mara reads it, places the phone face down, and laughs once into the empty room. Tuesday lunch brings 8 florists, the soup man, and a pair of Halcyon employees who split a chicken salad and speak in low voices over a laptop. Mara wears the same black shirt and long apron she wears for a 500-plate gala. Devin has assigned her the back section, farthest from the conservatory windows. At 12:15, Celeste sweeps through with Naomi Price. Naomi is small, silver-haired, and usually dressed as if she has been interrupted on her way to prune something. On Friday, she wore green velvet and managed 400 donors with the relaxed attention of someone hosting 12 people in her kitchen. Today, she carries a canvas gardening bag with the Halcyon crest. Mara, she says, stopping. Friday was beautiful. The staff handled the timing perfectly. Thank you. Our board chair is still talking about the pear dessert. She had 2. She had 3. I was protecting her reputation. Mara smiles despite herself. Celeste's hand settles lightly between Naomi's shoulder blades. We're heading into a meeting. Of course. Naomi turns to go, then notices the short blue grease pencil behind Mara's ear. You found it. I did? You left it on my invoice. Your little blue pencil. Mara reaches up. I have a box of them. Well, this one saved me. Someone wrote the wrong guest count on our internal copy, and your circles showed me which total was final. Celeste's hand becomes still. You still have that invoice? She asks. In my grant file. Our auditors insist we keep everything tied to gratuities and service charges. Naomi smiles. They believe flowers attract fraud. Naomi, Celeste says pleasantly, we really should get upstairs. Mara watches them cross the dining room. At the office stairs, Celeste glances back. The look lasts less than a second, but it changes the temperature of the room. When Mara checks the brass wheel after lunch, the blue pool cards are gone. In their place is a typed notice signed by Celeste. Effective immediately. All pool documentation is confidential payroll material. Unauthorized copying, photographing, or distribution may result in termination. Devin stands beside her, jangling the new keys. She asked me to make sure everyone reads it, he says. Mara takes the blue pencil from behind her ear and circles the date. The pencil tears through the notice on the second pass. Devin looks at the ragged blue circle. Was that necessary? No. Good. It was satisfying. He almost smiles. It appears and disappears so quickly that Mara might have imagined it. He reaches past her, removes the notice from the wheel, and smooths it against his thigh. Celeste wants these posted at every time clock. Then you should make more copies. This one has been vandalized. I heard what happened Friday. You said you didn't know anything about it. I said I didn't know anything about the money. And now? Now I know you accused Celeste in front of the closing crew. Mara puts the pencil back behind her ear. Is that what people are calling it? She said you demanded access to confidential payroll records. I asked where the tips went. You know those are different questions. They became different questions around the time she promoted you. Devin flinches. Mara regrets it before his face settles. He has worked for the promotion. He knows wine, remembers regulars, and can carry a full tray through a crowded room without looking at it. Last spring, when a groom's father locked himself in the east restroom 20 minutes before the ceremony, Devin found the man's preferred bourbon, sat on the tile outside the door, and talked him back into his jacket. Competence does not become fake because Celeste has found a use for it. Mara lowers her voice. Did she show you Friday's report? No. Did she show you any report? She explained the migration. That wasn't my question. A server pushes through the door with a tub of glassware, and Devin steps away to let her pass. He folds the notice along its existing crease. You're putting me in a bad position, he says. You're standing in mine. He looks at her for a long moment, then clips the notice to the wheel and leaves. At the end of lunch, Mara's checkout is exact. The soup man tips 18% after sending back the bisque twice, first for being too thin and then for having thickened suspiciously. Mara writes his complaints on the kitchen slip word for word. Luis reads it and says, next week we give him an empty bowl and let him imagine. Careful. He'll ask for less bowl. Luis slides her a plate with the rejected grilled cheese before it reaches the trash. You are too skinny when you are angry. I'm the same size. Anger burns expensive. She eats standing at the prep counter while he washes parsley from a cutting board. Did you find anything? He asks. The pool card and our deposits don't match. We knew that. The shortages aren't the same percentage. Luis turns off the faucet. Meaning? If it were withholding or a standard adjustment, the deductions should follow a pattern. Yours is different from mine. Maybe because you make more per hour. Tips are reported separately. You are asking the wrong person. My tax strategy is to look frightened and sign. Mara takes out her phone. Do you have older notices? How old? Since the payroll change. Luis points a wet finger at her. Do not send me to my filing cabinet unless you mean it. My filing cabinet has opinions. I mean it. He nods once. Tonight. Inez is less cautious. She corners Mara in the employee lot before Mara reaches her car. I checked 9 events, she says. You checked them where? At my kitchen table, like a criminal with excellent handwriting. She pulls a folded guest check from her jacket. On the back, she has written dates and numbers in green ink. My bar share was right until the Bonner wedding. After that, short. Right, short, short, right. Never more than 120. Do you have the closeouts? Some. I take pictures when people leave cash because Celeste once accused me of miscounting a bourbon tasting. Was she right? I was off by 20. Inez. And I found the 20 in my bra when I got home. That's why I started taking pictures. Mara looks at the list. This goes back 4 months. 5. I didn't count the museum dinner because Celeste bartended. Celeste poured drinks? She opened 2 wine bottles and flirted with the sculptor. If she took a weighted share, that would explain one event. It doesn't explain why my deposit was short on the others. A catering van reverses between them with a mechanical beeping that forces them silent. Through the windshield, Mara can see Devin in the loading bay, checking off crates. "Don't discuss this inside," Mara says. Inez tilts her head. "You just told me we were missing money. I also told you to keep your voice down." That was Celeste. Then she was right about one thing. Inez folds the check again. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet." "You always know." That's a rumor I've encouraged. At home, 11 messages from Luis arrive in no obvious order. Several show only his thumb. 1 is a photograph of an electricity bill. 7 contain payout notices dating back to the summer. Mara builds a spreadsheet because numbers become less frightening when they are forced into columns. Event date, role, eligible hours, announce share, deposited tips, variance. She enters her records, then Luis's, then the amounts from Inez's green list. Some shortages are tiny enough to resemble rounding. Others jump after large events. The missing money favors no particular employee and follows no simple percentage. On 2 dates, everyone appears to have been paid correctly. Mara adds a column for Celeste's presence. The clean dates are the events Celeste did not attend. She deletes the column. Then she adds it back. Thursday's setup shift begins with 478 pieces of flatware and ends with Celeste waiting in the empty conservatory. The room looks underwater at dusk. Rain moves across the glass roof, and the hanging ferns throw slow shadows over bare tables. Tomorrow's event is a medical foundation dinner, one of Devin's first full services as captain. He has placed the head table 13 inches too far east, which will block the service lane once the auction display arrives. Mara says nothing about it. Then she hates herself and moves the table. Celeste watches from beside the bar. "You can't help yourself," she says. "Apparently not. You aren't scheduled to supervise. I'm scheduled to set the room. The auction easels need 36 inches. Devin measured. He measured before the client added a 6th easel. Celeste looks down the row. "Will it fit now?" "Yes." "Thank you." The gratitude is sincere, which makes the rest harder. Celeste waits until the rental crew leaves. "Come upstairs." On the office desk is a single sheet of paper. Mara recognizes Celeste's preferred typeface, the one she uses on formal proposals and disciplinary notices. Celeste closes the door. "I want to resolve this." Mara remains standing. "The refrigeration repair is $21,000, Celeste says. "Not 12. The lender wants an additional reserve before they'll release the second location funds, and Halcyon hasn't signed the winter agreement. I'm juggling more than you realize." "I realize the staff is missing tips." "You realize what you have decided to see." Celeste turns the paper toward her. It states that Friday's preliminary gratuity estimate was mistakenly communicated before deduction of adjustments associated with the payroll conversion. It describes Mara's concern as understandable but unfounded. At the bottom is a signature line. "If you sign this," Celeste says, "I'll restore you to 32 hours next week. Banquet captain can be shared between you and Devin until we decide what works. What adjustments? Rounding, role eligibility, corrections from prior payrolls. Show them to me, Mara. If they're real, show me. I am trying to give you a way back. To what? To your job, to the position you had before you embarrassed me." Mara reads the statement again. It never identifies the amount of the discrepancy. It never says who received the missing money. It never promises anyone will be paid. "You want my name on your explanation. I want the staff to stop thinking they've been robbed." Have they? Celeste walks to the bubbled window. Rain beads against the glass and splits the parking lot lights into wavering gold lines. "When we opened this place, I paid people out of my personal account," she says. "I sold my apartment. I maxed out cards. I worked events with pneumonia because missing one Saturday meant losing the florist and the fish vendor on Monday. You know what it took." Mara does know. She remembers Celeste sleeping on the office sofa with her shoes still on. She remembers taking home linens because Bellwether's washer had flooded. She remembers her father polishing the old brass order wheel at his workbench before mounting it over the pass as a good luck gift. "Those were your risks," Mara says quietly. "Tips aren't your reserve." Celeste turns. "I did not take anyone's tips." "Then where is the money?" "I moved funds to cover timing gaps. Every eligible dollar is accounted for through payroll." "Moving it where?" "You don't have the expertise to interpret the accounting." "Then let someone who does." Celeste's mouth presses thin. "You think Naomi Price is going to save you because she liked your little pencil?" The question tells Mara more than the statement. "I haven't spoken to Naomi." "But you want to." "I served her lunch." Halcyon is 60% of our winter business. If you drag an internal misunderstanding into that relationship, people here lose more than a few dollars from one pool. It isn't one pool. Celeste goes still. Mara should not have said it. She sees the calculation begin behind her cousin's eyes. Who has compared what? How far back? How many copies exist? The rain ticks against the glass. Celeste slides the statement closer. "Sign it by Sunday." "And if I don't?" 8 hours is more than 0. This time, the threat arrives almost gently. Mara leaves the paper on the desk. By Friday afternoon, the pool cards no longer hang on the brass wheel. Devin receives them directly from supervisors and carries them upstairs in a locked bank bag. Payout notifications in the payroll app now show a single combined deposit instead of separating wages and tips. At lineup, Celeste announces that discussing another employee's compensation may violate confidentiality policy. She smiles while saying it, as if offering protection from bad manners. Inez raises her hand. Mara closes her eyes. "Yes?" Celeste says. If an employee discusses her own compensation with herself, does she need permission from both parties? A laugh escapes near the dish station. Luis disguises his as a cough badly enough to make it worse. Celeste's smile remains. "If you have a payroll question, bring it privately to management." "I did. Devin said he doesn't have access." "Then bring it to me." "When?" "After service." "I'm asking because last time someone did that, she got 8 hours. The room tightens. Celeste looks at Mara, not Inez. Lineup is not the place for rumors. Mara could step in. She could redirect everyone to the Medical Foundation's seating chart. Let Celeste keep the moment and protect Inez from becoming the next name at the bottom of the schedule. Instead, she says, "Then post the pool totals." Devin's clipboard lowers an inch. Celeste's voice stays level. "You are here for setup, Mara. Your shift ended at 6. The clock above the pass reads 6:03. Mara takes off her apron. As she crosses the kitchen, she sees tomorrow's revised schedule clipped to the wheel. Inez has lost Saturday night. Luis has been moved from the gala prep team to Monday inventory. Celeste has not simply punished Mara again. She has separated the people who compared records. Outside, Mara sits in her car with both hands on the steering wheel while rain drums against the roof. Through the conservatory glass, Bellwether glows warm and expensive. Servers move between tables she aligned. Devin stands at the center of them, holding the floor plan in one hand and the locked bank bag in the other. Her phone buzzes. The message is from him. "You were right about the easels." A second message follows. She wants me to sign Friday's corrected pool card. Mara types, "What changed?" The typing bubble appears, vanishes, then returns. She added herself as event host. 6 hours. Wait of 3. Celeste had spent most of Friday upstairs with the potential investor. Mara saw her enter the conservatory twice, once to welcome Naomi and once to pose beside the orchids. "Did you sign?" Mara asks. "Not yet." Mara looks through the rain-blurred windshield at the office above the greenhouse. "Take a picture before you do anything." 3 minutes pass. Then Devin sends 2 photographs. The first is Friday's original blue pool card, the one Mara completed. The second is a cleaner replacement in black ink. Several roll weights have changed. The total at the bottom is lower. Celeste's name sits between Devin's and Inez's, as though it has always belonged there. Mara enlarges the image. Beside Celeste's invented 6 hours is a transfer code she has never seen on any pool card. OD-01. "What are you?" Mara whispers. Her phone rings before she can search it. Celeste's name fills the screen. Mara lets it ring until voicemail picks up. A moment later, Devin sends one last message. She knows I photographed it. The voicemail arrives while Mara is still watching the conservatory through the rain. "You asked Devin to photograph confidential payroll material," Celeste says. Her voice is quiet, controlled. "Do not contact employees about internal records again. We will discuss this Sunday." The message ends without goodbye. Mara calls Devin. He declines the call, then sends a text. "Can't talk. She's here." Mara types, "Do not delete the photographs." She erases it. If Celeste has his phone in front of her, the instruction sounds like conspiracy because Celeste needs it to. Instead, Mara writes, "I did not ask you to access anything you weren't authorized to handle." Devin's answer comes 10 minutes later. "I know." On Saturday morning, the scheduling app locks Mara out. The reset link takes her to an error page, and the employee benefits portal shows a yellow notice beside her medical plan. Eligibility review pending. She calls the payroll provider from her kitchen. A woman named Charla plays soft jazz into the line while she investigates. "Your employer reported a reduction in average weekly hours," Charla finally says. "When?" "Yesterday." "How many weeks does it take before my coverage ends?" "There's a look-back calculation. I can't advise on eligibility until the employer finalizes your status. My status changed because I reported missing tips." Silence, followed by the careful sound of a keyboard. "Would you like me to document that statement in the call notes?" "Yes." "What date did you make the report?" "Friday after dinner service." "And when were your hours reduced?" The schedule was posted Monday. Charla reads the dates back to her. For the first time since Friday, Mara hears the sequence spoken by someone who has no family stake in changing its meaning. She writes the confirmation number on the back of an unopened electric bill. At noon, Devin asks to meet at a coffee shop halfway between Bellwether and the apartment he shares with his partner. He arrives in a baseball cap Mara has never seen and chooses a table behind a fake ficus. "You look like you're buying stolen art," Mara says. "I feel like I'm buying stolen art." He sits but keeps his jacket on. A paper cup shakes slightly in his hand. "She saw me take the picture because the flash went off." "You used flash in a glass office." I panicked. "Clearly." "She took my phone." Mara stops smiling. "She what?" I handed it to her. She said she needed to verify I hadn't photographed client information. "Did you unlock it?" "Yes." Devin. "I was standing in her office. The staff was downstairs. She said if I refused, she'd assume I had stolen payroll data." "What did she delete?" "Both photos. I'd already texted them to you." Mara studies him. "Did you tell her that?" "She watched me send them." "You sent them and then she asked for your phone." "She told me to send them." "That changes the shape of the evening." Devin rubs both hands over his face. "She said you were building a case against Bellwether and that if I didn't cooperate, you'd make it look like I altered the records. She wanted proof of exactly what you had." "So she planted the transfer code where I could see it?" "I don't think so." She looked surprised when I asked what it meant. "What did she say?" "Owner distribution." Mara hears the espresso machine hiss behind the counter. "OD," she says, "owner distribution." She said it didn't mean tips went to her. It's just the account the money passes through before payroll. Then why put it beside her name on a pool card? I asked that. And? She said roll distributions are aggregated under the account holder. That sentence doesn't mean anything. I know. He turns the cup between his palms. I signed it. Mara looks out the window. A woman in running clothes is trying to convince a terrier to walk past a puddle. The dog has planted all 4 feet against the sidewalk. What did she say you were signing? That the corrected card matched the hours I supervised. Did it? My hours did. What about Celeste's? She was there. That wasn't my question. His jaw works. I just got this position. My partner's hours were cut at the architecture firm. We signed a lease based on both incomes. Celeste said if I refused, she'd put in writing that I falsified Friday's closeout. Mara had come prepared to be angry. Now there is nowhere clean to put it. Did you read the full page? Yes. Did you take anything else? He reaches inside his jacket and produces a folded photocopy. The report that went with the card. It is not the pool report Mara requested. It is a payroll batch summary with employee names, combined earnings, and adjustment codes. Beside 5 people, including Mara, appears PA-R. Beside Celeste is OD-01. At the bottom, the totals balance only because $1,846 has been moved from pooled gratuities into the owner distribution line. You copied this after signing, Mara asks. She sent me downstairs with it to update the event binder. The copier is downstairs. That could get you fired. I think signing the first thing already got me fired. She just hasn't decided when. Mara folds the copy once, along the line Devin made. Keep the original. That is the original. Then I keep the copy. It came out of her file. It came out of an event binder you're responsible for. She'll say I stole it. She'll say whatever gives her the best room. Devin's face tightens at the phrase. It is something Celeste teaches every captain. Read the room, then give it what it needs. What does PA-R mean? He asks. I don't know. Payroll adjustment, recovery? Maybe. Recovery from what? Mara places the page on the table. That's what she thinks we don't have the expertise to interpret. Sunday dinner smells like garlic, lemon, and the bay leaves Aunt Rosa refuses to remove before serving. Celeste arrives 20 minutes late carrying bakery cookies in a white box tied with string. She kisses Rosa's cheek, asks about the leaking kitchen faucet, and places a contractor's business card beside the salt. This is how Celeste loves people, efficiently, with names of professionals. Mara sits across from her at the round table they have used for birthdays, wakes, tax arguments, and one Thanksgiving when Celeste dropped a turkey on the porch and claimed she had meant to rest it there. Rosa fills everyone's plate before she speaks. Celeste says you want to damage the restaurant. I want the staff paid. Celeste puts down her fork. This is what I mean. She starts with an accusation. Were the tips paid? They're being reconciled. Were they paid? Mara, Rosa says. Let her answer. I'm trying. No, Mara says. You're trying to reach the end of the conversation without answering. Celeste looks at Rosa with weary vindication. Rosa tears a piece of bread. Show her the report. Celeste turns back. What? If the report proves it, show her. It contains private payroll information. Mara already handles everyone's hours. That doesn't give her permission to audit my business. Rosa chews slowly. Then show it to an accountant. The accountant has seen it. Which accountant? Mara asks. Celeste's gaze snaps to her. Do you want every vendor who is waiting for a check to hear that my own cousin is telling clients I steal wages? I haven't told a client anything. You circled conflicting numbers on Halcyon's invoice. I circled the correct guest count during Friday closeout. Naomi told you that. You knew she would keep it. Celeste, I have returned invoices that way for 3 years. You also knew Halcyon has an audit clause. Mara had known. The contract binder sits in the banquet office, and she has used its staffing requirements to argue for additional bussers. Until Naomi mentioned the grant file, Mara had not considered what the clause covered. Rosa looks between them. Did you move the money? Celeste takes a drink of water. I moved cash between operating accounts to cover payroll timing, she says. Tips were moved into an owner distribution, Mara says. Celeste's glass touches the table too hard. Devin gave you that. He gave me a document from the event binder. He signed a false statement and stole a payroll record to protect himself. You wrote the statement. I corrected one. Rosa's face has gone still. Did you put the money back? All employee obligations will be satisfied. When? When Halcyon signs the winter contract. There it is, plain enough to sit beside the serving bowl. Celeste closes her eyes briefly. The bank froze the expansion draw after the refrigeration estimate. We had vendors due, payroll due, and a penalty if we canceled Friday. I used a clearing account for 3 days. It's been 9, Mara says, because you triggered a payroll review. By asking, by refusing to let me fix it. What happens if Halcyon doesn't renew? They will. What happens if they don't? Celeste's voice sharpens. Then Bellwether loses 40% of projected winter revenue. I sell equipment from the new space and everyone gets paid later. 60%, Mara says. What? You told me Halcyon was 60. Aunt Rosa looks at Celeste. 60% of contracted event revenue, Celeste says. 40 of total projected revenue. It is a competent correction, immediate and probably true. Celeste has always been at her most convincing when frightened. She reaches into her handbag and places the statement from Thursday beside Mara's plate. Sign it tonight. I will restore 32 hours and maintain your benefit eligibility. The staff gets paid when the account clears. We contain this, and Bellwether survives. Rosa rubs her thumb along the edge of the table. Maybe you sign it and Celeste adds a date for repayment. No, Mara says. Celeste laughs softly. Of course. You threatened me, cut my shifts, reported my hours to benefits, changed the records, and separated everyone who compared deposits. The statement says my concern was unfounded. Change the wording. The concern is founded. Then what do you want? Me on my knees? I want the pool report. I cannot give it to you. Then there's nothing to sign. Celeste folds the statement and returns it to her bag. You are choosing strangers over family. I worked beside those strangers every weekend for 3 years. And I picked you up from the Harrington. Mara feels Rosa's eyes move toward her. Celeste continues before she can stop herself. You couldn't walk into a hotel lobby without shaking. I gave you a uniform and let you pretend you were still the person you used to be. The refrigerator hums. Somewhere in the building, a pipe knocks twice. Mara takes off her father's watch and places it on the table between them. Its blue face catches the overhead light. He gave you the brass wheel, she says. Do you remember what you told him? Celeste stares at the watch. You said every check clipped to it represented a promise. That was opening night talk. He believed you. This is business, Mara. Yes. Mara fastens the watch around her wrist again. That's why I'm done discussing it as family. On Monday, the benefits portal updates. Coverage will end on the last day of the month unless Mara's qualifying hours are restored. She takes the watch to a jeweler during what used to be her lunch break. He examines the scratched case and worn strap under a bright white lamp. The engraving limits resale, he says. On the back, her father's initials sit above 31 years of service dates. How much? He names a number large enough to cover 1 month of private insurance and small enough to feel insulting. Mara closes her hand around the watch. Then she opens it. When she leaves the store, the pale band of skin around her wrist looks indecent. Naomi Price calls while Mara is sitting in her parked car. I hope I'm not catching you during service, Naomi says. You aren't. I have an odd accounting question. Our paid invoice lists gratuities of $46.73.50. The staff acknowledgement Bellwether submitted lists $28.27.50. Mara looks through the jeweler's window. Her father's watch lies on a black velvet pad beside someone else's gold bracelet. Those numbers differ by $1,846, Naomi says. Do you know why? I reported that discrepancy after Friday's dinner rush. The silence on Naomi's end lasts just long enough to become official. Was it corrected? Not on my payout. Were you responsible for preparing the original pool card? Yes. And did you sign the acknowledgement we received? No. Naomi's voice loses its conversational softness. Thank you. Please don't send me anything, Mara. I'll request it through the contract. At 3:17, an email reaches Bellwether's management address, the Halcyon procurement office, and Mara's employee inbox. Under the audit provision, the outside client requested the complete pool report. Celeste replies 9 minutes later. She copies Naomi, Halcyon procurement, Bellwether's accountant, and Devin. Bellwether will provide all contractually required documentation after protecting confidential employee information. The discrepancy reflects a temporary coding error caused by the payroll migration. No employee funds were lost. A second email goes only to Mara. Do not come onto Bellwether property except during scheduled hours. Do not contact Halcyon personnel. Your Tuesday shift is canceled, pending investigation of your unauthorized disclosure. Mara forwards both messages to her private account, takes screenshots, and saves the benefits confirmation beside them. Then she calls the payroll provider again. Charla answers. Is this the same Mara with the retaliation note? That depends. How many Maras have retaliation notes? Today? 3. But you're my only banquet captain. Mara closes her eyes. My remaining shift was canceled. The keyboard begins. Date and time? Mara gives them. Did your employer identify a policy you violated? She said unauthorized disclosure. What did you disclose? That my payout was short. The typing stops. You disclosed your own compensation? Yes. Goodness. It is the most judgment Charla permits herself. By evening, Bellwether's management login has replaced Mara's employee photograph with a gray silhouette. Inez sends a picture of the blank space in the staffing app. You've become a witness protection icon, Luis writes, 15 minutes later. They canceled my inventory shift. I am coming to your house with the filing cabinet. He arrives carrying 2 grocery bags because the filing cabinet is metal, 4 feet tall, and, as he explains from Mara's doorway, not emotionally ready for travel. The bags contain deposit notices, printed schedules, time cards, and every handwritten pool estimate Luis has received since Celeste moved tips into payroll. Inez comes with her green list, a bottle of wine, and 3 frozen pizzas. Devin arrives last. He stands outside until Mara opens the door a second time. I wasn't sure I was invited, he says. You brought records? He holds up the event binder. You're invited. They take over Mara's dining table. Grease pencil figures sit beside payroll notices. Inez sorts dates. Devin explains roll weights. Luis opens the wine with a corkscrew from his pocket and refuses to explain why he owns it. At first, the numbers look messy, because restaurant life is messy. Servers leave early. Bartenders receive different weights. Cash tips are distributed before card tips reach payroll. A guest changes the gratuity after signing. An employee forgets to clock into the correct event. Then the mess begins repeating itself. The same adjustment codes appear whenever Celeste works an event. PA-R removes money from individual employee shares. OD-01 receives the exact combined amount. On smaller nights, the transfer is $40 or $60. On corporate galas, it reaches 4 figures. Devin turns pages in the binder. She started using OD-01 last fall. 11 months, Mara says. Luis taps 1 payout notice. This dinner, she did work. She ran plates. They compare it with the card. Celeste received an event host share, properly listed among the eligible workers, plus the owner distribution afterward. So even when she earned a share, Inez says, she took the extra money. Mara writes the distinction into the spreadsheet. She refuses to make the numbers cleaner than they are. If Celeste worked service, the records should say so. If someone forgot to clock out and received $14 too much, that stays too. At midnight, Devin finds the Medical Foundation card from Friday. His black ink replacement has been replaced by a third version. This one removes Celeste's event host hours. OD-01 remains. She changed it again, he says. After Halcyon requested the report, Mara says. His face drains. My signature is attached. Is it your signature? It's copied from the other card. Inez leans over. That's not even a good copy. It's crooked. I signed the false one. You signed one false one, Inez says. Try not to be possessive. Devin looks at Mara. What do I do? Write down what happened. Every version when you saw it, what she told you, and why you signed. She'll fire me. She probably will. He gives a short, bitter laugh. You're terrible at reassurance. I'm trying something new. He begins writing. Naomi requests a meeting for Thursday at Halcyon's administrative cottage. She asks for Celeste, Bellwether's accountant, the employee who prepared Friday's original pool card, and the manager who certified the revised one. Celeste objects to Mara's attendance. Naomi replies with one sentence. Her presence is required for us to evaluate the vendor's explanation. On Wednesday afternoon, Aunt Rosa comes to Mara's apartment with a pot of lentil soup. She sees the bare skin around Mara's wrist while handing over the container. Where is your father's watch? I sold it. Rosa's hands remain on the pot. Why? My insurance. Why didn't you call me? Because Sunday you asked me to sign. Rosa sets the soup down. I was trying to stop the family from breaking. The family was already broken. You were asking me to stand over the crack. Rosa walks to the dining table where Mara has stacked the records into labeled folders. Her eyes settle on the old photographs of pool cards. Celeste says she borrowed the money. She took it without asking the people who owned it. She says she meant to replace it. So do people who borrow from cash registers. Rosa touches the back of a chair but does not sit. Your father lent her $12,000 when she opened Bellwether. Mara looks up. He told me it was $6,000. He knew you would be angry. She paid back every dollar. When? After he died. Then she paid it to you. Yes. Did you know where it came from? Rosa's mouth opens, then closes. That's what I thought, Mara says. Rosa looks suddenly older, though the room has not changed. What do you want me to do? Stop asking me to make this easier for her. Rosa nods. She leaves the soup and takes nothing with her. The administrative cottage at Halcyon has low ceilings, faded botanical prints, and a conference table scarred by generations of committee rings. Naomi sits at one end with a laptop and 2 paper files. Beside her is Halcyon's procurement director, a patient man named Arthur Bell, who asks everyone whether they need coffee and then forgets his own. Celeste arrives with Bellwether's accountant and an attorney Mara has seen at charity events. Devin comes alone. His tie is uneven. Mara carries the blue card photographs, her payout notice, and the spreadsheet the 4 employees built at her table. She sets them down without opening them. Celeste does not look at her. Naomi begins with Friday's gala. The gratuity on Halcyon's signed invoice was $4,673.50, she says. Your staff acknowledgement reported $2,827.50. We requested the pool report supporting both figures. Bellwether's accountant slides a polished summary across the table. The lower figure was generated before payroll corrections. Naomi leaves the summary where it lands. We requested the pool report. That document contains compensation information for employees unrelated to your event, Celeste's attorney says, then redact their names. The contract gives Halcyon access to source records for labor charges, service fees, and gratuities billed to us. The attorney turns slightly towards Celeste. Celeste takes a folder from her bag. This is the final event report. It is the 3rd version, the one bearing Devin's copied signature. Naomi passes it to him. Did you certify this? Devin's fingers tremble against the paper. Celeste finally looks at him. He draws a breath. I certified a different version after Ms. Velez told me it corrected roll hours. This signature was copied. The accountant lowers his pen. Celeste's attorney whispers something to her. Celeste answers without taking her eyes from Devin. That is a serious accusation. I wrote down what happened the night it happened. You removed internal records. I was instructed to update the event binder. You were instructed to maintain it, not distribute it. I withdraw my certification from every version of this card. The words come out thin, but they hold. Naomi asks Mara for the photograph of her original card. Mara places it beside the final report. Her blue figures list $4,673.50. Celeste's black version lists $2,827.50. The gap is exact. Naomi turns to the accountant. What is OD-01? He looks at Celeste before answering. An owner distribution ledger code. And PA-R, pool adjustment, reallocation. Reallocated where? He opens the laptop Celeste's attorney has brought. The room goes very quiet except for the fan above them, which clicks once per rotation. The accountant had prepared for Friday. Naomi asks for every Halcyon event processed through the same codes. There are 31. The first transfer is $68 from a trustee luncheon 11 months earlier. The next is $94, then $211. The amounts rise during holiday events, disappear for several weeks, and return when Bellwether begins paying deposits on its second location. Naomi moves down the screen with one finger against the printed ledger, matching PA-R deductions to OD-01 receipts. Mara watches her trace every transfer to one name, Celeste Velez. By the time Naomi reaches Friday's $1,846, Celeste has stopped correcting anyone. Her attorney asks for a recess. Naomi closes the file. Halcyon is suspending Bellwether from active events effective today. Celeste leans forward. You have 3 winter galas on our calendar. We'll relocate them. You cannot replace a venue in 3 weeks. We can replace a vendor. The line is spoken softly. It cuts more deeply for that. Celeste looks at Mara then, and Mara sees what she expected to feel like victory. Instead, she sees the cousin who once washed tablecloths in a bathtub because the commercial laundry had refused another delivery without payment. Celeste's competence is still there. So is her fear. They have simply stopped disguising each other. If Halcyon pulls out, Celeste says, 30 people lose work. Naomi folds her hands. The contract requires us to refer suspected wage diversion to the State Labor Department. Reinstatement will require full employee restitution, independent payroll administration, and a compliance review. You're killing a local business over a coding issue. No, Naomi says. I'm acting on the records you supplied. The state review takes 7 weeks. Bellwether remains open through private dinners and a punishing number of small holiday parties. Celeste sells the lease option and equipment intended for the second location. The refrigeration company gets paid. So do the fish vendor, the florist, and eventually the employees. Investigators widen the accounting beyond Halcyon events. Mara's spreadsheet does not decide the case, but it tells them where to look. Inez's photographs establish announced bar shares. Luis's paper notices confirm deposits. Devin's statement explains the altered cards and copied signature. The final calculation fills 42 pages. At the settlement conference, Celeste sits across from Mara in a plain government office, wearing navy trousers and shoes without red soles. Her attorney proposes one combined repayment to the staff. Mara reads the paragraph twice. No. The mediator adjusts his glasses. What is your objection? A lump sum lets Bellwether decide the distribution again. Each employee gets an individual accounting, event date, eligible share, amount withheld, and penalty. That will take time, Celeste says. You had time to make 3 versions of Friday. Celeste's attorney asks for a break. They return with individual accountings, outside payroll oversight, restoration of Mara's benefits through the separation date, back pay for the retaliatory schedule reduction, and a neutral reference. Bellwether can apply for halcyon work again after a full compliance cycle. Celeste retains the restaurant, but she surrenders payroll control and signs every restitution notice herself. Mara adds one final term, no confidentiality clause about wages. Celeste looks at her over the pages. "You've taken enough," she says. Mara holds her gaze. That's why the clause comes out. It comes out. Luis receives a payment large enough to repair the transmission he has been ignoring. Inez opens her accounting and discovers that her bra had been innocent except for the original $20. Devin resigns before Celeste can decide whether to keep him. He accepts a captain position at a hotel and lists Mara as his reference. Bellwether offers Mara reinstatement under the outside payroll system. She declines and takes the negotiated severance. Her last visit is on a gray Monday morning. She enters through the kitchen, empties her locker, and finds the short blue grease pencils in a paper cup beside her folded aprons. Above the pass, the brass order wheel hangs motionless. Celeste is in the conservatory resetting tables. "I heard you found another job," she says, "Pine and Ash." "As operations manager?" "Yes." Celeste straightens a water glass by half an inch. "Naomi recommended you. She gave them my name. I did the interviews." "I'm sure you were very prepared." "I was." Celeste nods toward the kitchen. "Rosa wants us both at dinner." "I know. Are you going?" "Not this week." Celeste adjusts another glass. "How many weeks?" "I don't know." For once, Celeste does not turn uncertainty into a promise. Mara picks up the cup of pencils. She leaves one beneath the brass wheel and takes the rest. At Pine and Ash, the order wheel is steel under decades of tarnish. It squeals on busy nights, and the owner keeps forgetting to call someone about it. Mara likes the sound. On her first sold-out Saturday, she closes the final pool herself. The banquet check shows the client gratuity. The pool card lists every name, hour, and weighted share. Beside each one is the exact amount that will appear in payroll. She marks the reconciled total with a short blue pencil and clips the card beneath the final check. Then she turns the wheel toward the closing crew.